So today we canceled Dr. Susie Diembo, who you may remember as the mulleted communications professor who appeared on my episode of Dr. Phil. She has been quite silent publicly ever since that episode aired, probably because she embarrassed herself to such an unfortunate degree. In fact, she embarrassed herself even more than viewers of the show realize because her worst moments were left on the cutting room floor, which she should be grateful for. Well, now she's back, this time on Dr. Phil's podcast, to reflect on that experience and also to explain why I'm such a horrible and wrong and evil person. Now, you notice how she waits until I'm 3,000 miles away before she tries to make this case. With me safely out of the room and out of the state, she can launch her missiles, which she does throughout the course of an hour-long interview. We'll play just a few clips, starting with this piece from the beginning of the discussion. Listen to this.
Why is this such a divisive issue? Because I think it is a divisive issue.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. And it's good to talk about this example in addition to what you said, because it's an example of how I approach communication and conflict in general. There's at least two reasons it's divisive. First, you have people like Matt Walsh and his team capitalizing and exploiting the very real uncertainty that people can feel and face when there is a culture change like this. For me, I think it makes total sense to have people be fearful around something like gender pronouns or personal pronouns, and to feel anxiety when they learn about that, because it can question their fundamental core beliefs.
So this is an example of how she approaches communication and conflict, she says. She approaches communication and conflict by waiting 3 weeks to come up with any kind of counter-argument to someone, and then at that point presenting the counter-argument while the other person is out of the room. That's her communication and conflict resolution strategy as someone who is an expert in the field. She also, again, as a communications expert, immediately attacks her opponent's perceived motivations rather than addressing the actual arguments. And you're gonna notice that throughout all the clips we play, is that's all she does, is just go after what she perceives to be my motivation while saying nothing about the arguments that I presented. In this case, she says that I'm exploitative. I'm exploiting the fear that people feel when they, quote, learn about personal pronouns because this new information is causing them to, quote, question their core beliefs. Okay, well, first of all, nobody is learning about personal pronouns for the first time. No one learned about pronouns from Dr. Phil. No one is learning about pronouns from the gender ideologues. We already knew about that. We aren't confused by pronouns or afraid of them. We're all quite familiar with the concept. It is you, Susie, who are confused. See, you think that words are your little pets, which you can take personal ownership of. And you think that the meaning of words is entirely subjective, that each person can make up their own meaning as they go along. But what you don't understand as a communications professor is that if language is entirely subjective, if there's no set definition for these words, then communication is impossible. Because literally the whole point of language has just been removed, causing communication to collapse and break down. You know, there has to be a shared understanding of what the words mean, or there's no way to convey meaning to anybody if we all have our own meaning for the words that we're using. So when you say that a man is a she, and I ask you, what do you mean by that? How is that person a she? And you have no answer for that question. You have made communication impossible because you are using words apart from their objective meaning without any idea of what your new meaning even is. You have not put anything forward that causes anyone to question their core beliefs. At no point have you or anyone on your side or anyone who pushes gender ideology ever said anything that makes someone go, wow, that's a great point. I never thought of it like that. Sending them into some kind of existential crisis where they begin to reanalyze everything they thought they knew. This has never happened because nothing that you say means anything. If you're causing people to question their core beliefs, it's not by presenting arguments, but it's by berating and cajoling and threatening and coercing them into giving up their core beliefs out of fear of social alienation and shame. So then who exactly is exploiting fear in this case? Well, one thing I can tell you as a 4-star chef myself, amateur chef, but I consider myself a 4-star chef, your kitchen is not complete without great kitchen knives. And that's why you need Kamikoto. Kamikoto taps into more than 800 years of traditional techniques from Honshu, Japan. Kamikoto also uses steel sourced from mills in Japan, and each blade is crafted using techniques that have been honed and perfected by generations of knife smiths. Each knife comes in a beautiful heavy-duty ash wood box and make sure that the knife is stored safely as well. Each Kamikoto knife goes through a rigorous 19-step process that takes several years from start to finish to complete. Our expert bladesmiths forge and shape raw steel into hardy blades, polishing and sharpening them to an excruciatingly fine edge. Each knife is individually inspected. Kamikoto is so confident that their knives will work for you that each knife comes with a lifetime guarantee. Because of their single bevel edge, Kamikoto knives can achieve an unbelievably sharp edge you just can't get with other knives. They can cut through your ribeye like butter. That is guaranteed. Kamikoto is currently having a massive extended New Year sale, and on top of that sale, you can get an additional $50 off any purchase you make with discount code Matt Walsh. So click the link below or go to kamikoto.com/Matt Walsh and use promo code Matt Walsh to save an extra $50 today. Let's listen to the next clip.
And it's really frustrating to me too, especially around the pronoun episode and that the reaction that people had to that. So you laying out how vast your audience is means you are the perfect platform to present multiple viewpoints, in my view, because you're reaching the most people. And the way we need to hear many different sides of an issue so that people can make a decision for themselves. And when we shut down people from hearing other kinds of perspectives, it's just not productive to me, and it's really boring. And it's usually motivated by the need for validation from one side that's not genuine, in my view. I mean, I could go on and on about this, especially with regard to our episode, but I don't agree. I mean, I think that providing that platform is a good thing. On your show, I wonder if maybe I didn't do my job well enough because they think that he won. And I was like, I didn't think that.
Yeah, well, you said it there, not me. If it makes you feel better, Susie, you did have an impossible job. You did lose, the argument, but your job was to defend and legitimize something that is fundamentally incoherent. There's no way to do that. There's no way to win that argument. The only way that you win is if the other side surrenders ahead of time. And that's what you've come to expect from these conversations because it's what most people do. It didn't happen in our case, and that's why you were so flustered. She said in the earlier clip that when she's talking to her students, especially those from rural areas, and introducing the gender pronoun concept to them, that she's introducing something that they've never heard before. But that's not true. As we covered, everyone has heard of pronouns before. And the more familiar you are with the concept, and with the rules of grammar generally, the more impervious you are to the nonsense that people like Susie and her ilk spew on the subject. But speaking of people being introduced to things for the first time, it is Susie and the people on her side who have literally never been challenged on their views by anyone ever in their lives. That's why they collapse so easily. That's why they run away claiming that they've been traumatized. People on my side, this is the advantage that we have. We've all heard and confronted gender ideology a million times. We can't escape it. So you can't surprise us. We've heard all of it. We hear all of this every day, everywhere we go. How could we not? It's everywhere. There is no bubble available where you can go inside it and escape this nonsense. But these people, they all live in bubbles where the opposing side does not exist. That's actually available to them. That's an option most of the time. And that's why they're so unprepared to deal with challenges. The reason people thought that I won the argument is because I won it. But I won it simply because I asked questions about the opposing side's position, which nobody on the opposing side could answer because they've never been asked those questions before. Because for most of them on that stage, and most of them generally, it's probably like the first time they've ever even had a conversation with someone who disagrees with them. Let's listen to one more clip here.
You did a good thing I didn't really know who Matt Walsh was that well before I went on the show, but I'm real glad that I did that and that you had him on because people need to hear what he is talking about. Now, my dilemma, and I've been thinking about this since the show, and I don't know that I'll have a concrete answer for you yet, but it's been on my mind, is how I think it's important to have him on. And I wish he does. They don't play fair. He's not playing fair. He's yelling and so I've been sorting through the dilemma of how to get people to actually listen to the words he's saying. And with me, I don't care if you're conservative thinking or you don't like personal pronouns. It's not the outcome. It's how he got to that outcome, because his argument made no sense. And it was exploiting fear, and it was a lot of generalizations. And that's why I feel like you needed to have him on. Because I want people to hear that. And I don't know that happened.
Okay. Well, she wants people to hear my arguments, she says. Well, we can agree on that point, at least. I want people to hear them too. Though she says that I didn't play fair because I was yelling. Except I never yelled at any point during that episode. And this is how you know you lost the argument, by the way. If after the fact you're complaining that your opponent wasn't being fair. It's like I said at the beginning, once you start complaining about the refs, after the game, if you're saying, it wasn't fair, they missed that call, they should have, you know that your team lost. Now, if I had run up and snatched all their microphones or something and said, you can't say anything, that might qualify as not playing fair. That also would have been kind of funny, and I might as well have taken their microphones because they weren't saying anything anyway. But far from snatching their microphones, I was actually inviting them to speak more by asking them questions about their position. They could not answer those questions because their position is fundamentally incoherent, which is not my fault. Don't take it out on me, Susie. But for now, I do have to say to Susie Diembo that you are once again canceled. Listen, hit that subscribe button right now. Do it right now. I thank you for your compliance. It is somewhat appreciated.